Hey guys, welcome to the Monday morning megaphone. It's been a while, but I'm going to get back to doing this. I'm going to try to anyway. Um, I wanted to come on today and talk about some stuff that I saw, just to kind of get some content out there and to kind of share my opinions on what's been going on regarding this thing that the North American Missions Board of the Southern Baptist Convention put out. I logged onto Facebook this morning, like it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I rolled out of bed, got my phone or my iPad, or I don't remember. I don't even remember what I got, but I got one of my devices. I jumped on Facebook like I always do, and the first thing I saw was someone who is a part of the really conservative group within the Southern Baptist Convention. They were just going on and on about this video the North American Missions Board had put out. And I didn't really know much about it. And of course, generally, whenever someone like that starts griping about something like that, I just take it with a grain of salt because, the conservative Baptist network's always complaining about something, and half the time it's not even something they need to be worried about. They're just getting mad so that they can avoid actually doing the work of preaching the gospel, making disciples. There, I said it. But I wanted to look into this whole North American Missions Board thing. I wanted to see what it was all about because someone said, "Oh, the North American Missions Board is telling pastors they need to lose their accent." And so I Googled it. I Googled NAMB Southern accent, and the first thing that came up was something from Tom Buck, who, again, he's always one of those who's complaining about something. But the first thing that came up was a tweet by Tom Buck, and I'm actually going to share my screen and let you look at that, if I can. Let's see, will it let me do that? Maybe I can, maybe I can't. I don't know. So basically, you can't. Okay, if it's not working, I'll just read it to you. First thing I saw was Tom Buck, where he had said on Twitter, he said, "I'm sick of this, but people need to know how their SBC, CP, and Send Network dollars are used." Now, the SBC, CP, he's referring to the cooperative program. So he's saying people need to know how their cooperative program dollars are being sent. He said, North American Mission Board church planners with Southern accents are encouraged to lose their accent because people, and he's quoting here, people with Southern accents are assumed less intelligent. Now, he's got a link here to a YouTube video. And if you follow that link, it'll take you to YouTube and it'll say the video is unavailable. So the North American Mission Board has apparently, I don't think they've seen the error of their ways here, but apparently they got enough feedback on it that they took it down. And then I saw this other thing from Reformation Charlotte, which is another one of those websites that are always complaining about things that, they're always just blowing hot air about something. But they were talking about the SBC. Here's the headline. It's great. SBC enlists Asian man to rebuke pastors with Southern accents for sounding dumb. The Southern Baptist Convention's Church Planning Network, the North American Mission Board, has released a video that should be insulting to practically every pastor in the denomination. The video, released as of an Asian guy, explaining that in order to reach people for Christ, missionaries need to lose their Southern accents. One can only speculate as to the reasoning. He doesn't really explain, except to suggest that it is not possible for the Holy Spirit to work through a man with a Southern accent in other parts of the nation or world. Apparently, it makes you sound dumb. So you can go through here. I'll include the link in this episode's description. You can kind of go through here and read the description. Now, as you roll down through the article, they're going to show you a link from Twitter. They tweeted out a clip from the original video, and if you were to watch it, I don't think I can play it with the kind of program and the software that I'm using, but if you were to watch that video, you would find this Asian man telling a story about how whenever he was on some kind of mission trip, he met a church planter from South Carolina, and the South Carolinian church planter told him, hey, whenever I moved up here to plant this church, I actually found a voice coach to help me lose my accent because, essentially because he felt like it made him sound less intelligent. Now, here's the thing: if you actually go and um, do researches, you'll find that statistically, it is assumed that people with Southern accents do sound less intelligent overall. Uh, but here's the deal: I'm not concerned about that. Um, what I'm concerned about is like there's a clear accusation against the North Americans Missions Board um, for saying that Southern pastors should lose their Southern accent. And when I watched this little 1.5 minute clip here on Reformation Charlotte's, Twitter feed on their, which is linked to this article, I didn't see that in the video. I just saw where the guy doing the video made an example of how someone could lose their accent, for the sake of being all things to all men. Now, my biggest problem with that is I don't think that's what that passage means. I don't think the passage means you got to lose your accent and you have to dismiss your cultural background in order to reach people for Christ. So I think that they're taking a scripture out of context, and there could be a underlying agenda, I guess, maybe, to get Southern pastors to lose their accents, but I don't really see that. It's not plain to me that's what they're doing. Of course, this is only like 1.5 minute clip. If you go down further, there's a full 8.5 minute video. I'm not gonna watch the 8.5 minute video, honestly, because I don't think it's that important. Because all those videos are essentially the same that the North American Missions Board puts out. It's like, hey, here's this church doing this thing, and here's these people doing these things, and it's like it's real generic. And so I just didn't bother with the energy to watch it. And here's what Reformation Charlotte says on the article at the bottom. Update: North American Missions Board removed the original video from YouTube, which we saw that because if you try to go to that link, it'll say that the video is not available, and replaced it with a video that does not contain the infographic, because there was an infographic in the original video. The infographic said something along the lines of the infographic said, according to a 2012 study conducted by the University of Chicago, people with Southern accents are assumed less intelligent than their Northern accented peers, even among children. So I think that's the only thing in that video, unless the guy just later outright said, hey, Southern accents make you sound dumb. I don't think that there is really an agenda to get people to do that. I think it's just, hey, this is what's going on here. If you want to try to do this, you can, kind of thing. I don't think there's a real effort to get people to do this. Especially, like, here's the thing. The way the Southern Baptist Convention works, like every Southern Baptist church is autonomous. So there's no presbytery. There's no executive. There's like an executive committee of people who but the best they can do is make suggestions, because Southern Baptist churches are autonomous. So this is why it doesn't make sense to me to complain about this. Like, if you want to stop donating to the cooperative fund, that's fine. I think, honestly, like, I'm not Baptist in any sense of the word, but I think if I were Southern Baptist, I probably would have already encouraged my church to stop giving to the cooperative fund a long time ago over other issues. But honestly, that's essentially what connects churches to the Southern Baptist conventions that are Southern Baptist, right? Is they're giving to the cooperative program. Like, the line that connects a church to the Southern Baptist Convention is made of money. Okay? And I'm not even joking. So, like, whenever I was a part of a Southern Baptist church plant, I asked them essentially, well, what is it that makes us Southern Baptist? Because we affirmed the Baptist faith and message. So doctrinally, we were Southern Baptist, and we were a part of the State Baptist Association. And so I asked our pastor or our elders one day, I was like, okay, so what is it that actually connects us to the Southern Baptist Convention as a whole? Because we're not in the local association. The local association wouldn't have us because they were a bunch of legalistic jerks that, they were kind of racist and they were complete teetotalers. And so we weren't a part of the local association, but we were a part of the state association. And then, of course, when you're a Southern Baptist church, you're connected. You can be connected on three levels. You can be connected to the local association, to the state association, and to the Southern Baptist Convention itself. But the connection to the Southern Baptist Convention itself is very tenuous. So, like, you can be a Baptist church and you can affirm the Baptist faith and message, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're in the convention. What connects you to the convention is a tenuous line of money that you give every year to their cooperative program, which goes to pay the salaries and funds and necessities of missionaries and church planters. So literally the only thing that connects a Southern Baptist church to the SBC at all is just a line of money. So it doesn't make sense in my mind for people to complain. Like, it doesn't make sense in my mind for Baptist pastors to complain about the North American Missions Board, because the North American Missions Board, if they're not using your money right, which I'm not so sure that they are, then just stop giving to them. Okay? Like, just stop giving to them. If you don't feel like the cooperative program is using your money correctly, stop giving to them. Like, it's that simple. I don't understand why Baptist pastors have to make it so complicated. Because you're autonomous, dude. You can literally do anything. Just take SBC off your sign. Just stop giving to the cooperative program. So, like, during the whole Southern Baptist Convention kerfuffle last year, whenever they were electing a new SBC president, you had three candidates. You had Mike Stone, you had Albert Mohler, and you had Ed Litton. Okay. And the Conservative Baptist Network, they were raising Mike Stone's flag pretty hard, and they were saying, okay, you guys got to support Mike Stone, and you got to support Mike Stone, or you're just not really Southern Baptist, you're not really conservative, or whatever. Okay. And then you had guys who were supporting Ed Litton. And I think a lot of the reason people were supporting Ed Litton wasn't necessarily because they particularly liked Ed Litton. I think it was just because he wasn't Mike Stone. So, like, I literally think what happened in the Southern Baptist Convention presidential election is what happened in the 2020 election on a nationwide level. Like, Joe Biden became president because a lot of people voted for him simply because he wasn't Trump. Like, he could have been in a comatose state and people would have still voted for him simply because he wasn't Trump. That's how I think Ed Litton won the SBC election. People voted for him simply because he wasn't Mike Stone and he wasn't Albert Mohler. That's what happened. And so the Conservative Baptist Network was raising the flag pretty hard for Mike Stone, and he didn't win, and he threw a big fit about Russell Moore. By the way, I'm going to get to Russell Moore in a minute. He threw a big fit because he said Russell Moore cost him the election somehow, and he was going to sue Russell Moore. Well, guess what? Mike Stone preached through the book of 1 Corinthians at his church back in 2018. Someone dug up a little sermon clip and posted it on Twitter where he preached through 1 Corinthians chapter 6, where it blatantly tells you not to sue your brother in Christ. And in the sermon clip, Mike Stone said something to the effect of, "If you feel that you're slandered against, don't take it to court, just let it go." Well, guess what? That little sermon clip came back to haunt him. So I think he ended up withdrawing his appeal. I think he ended up withdrawing his motion to sue Russell Moore. I don't know if that little sermon clip had anything to do with it or not, but the last time I checked, Mike Stone wasn't trying to sue Russell Moore anymore. And so, yeah, the Southern Baptist Convention kind of gets in a kerfuffle over these things. But where I was going with that was when Mike Stone didn't win, you had all these, or I'm sorry, before the election, building up to the election, when Mike Stone was supposed to win, you had all these Southern Baptists who were flying pirate flags. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. You can go on Twitter and see people like making tweets with pirate flag emojis, and they were like hashtag take the ship, and they were basically saying that they were going to get Mike Stone elected as the SBC president so that they could take the Southern Baptist Convention back. And so during that time, I noticed a lot of these conservative Baptists saying, okay, well, we need to take the ship. And I'm sitting there thinking, you're autonomous. Like, you've got your own, basically, functionally, you've got your own denomination within the Southern Baptist Convention, because that's basically what the Conservative Baptist Network is its own denomination functionally. Now, because it's Baptist, it's completely autonomous. And there's churches who are part of it. There's churches who give to it. There's pastors who participate in it. They have their little conferences and stuff. I think they have a podcast or two. I don't know. I don't really keep up with them that much. Other than to kind of, I'm friends with some guys in the Conservative Baptist Network, so I know what they're complaining about all the time, every time I log on Facebook. And it's like, well, if you don't like what's going on in the Southern Baptist Convention, just get out. Like, here's the thing. I used to not think an autonomous form of church government was a blessing, but now I kind of see it as a blessing. And so I'm going to say this, and it's going to be real controversial to my Cumberland Presbyterian friends, but I don't care. But I kind of see being autonomous in a situation like this as a blessing. Because if you don't like what's going on, you can pack your bags and leave. You can chart your own course. You can do your own thing. You do not have to be in a convention where you do not feel that they're putting your funds to work for the sake of the gospel. And so building up to the election, I wrote a little article called Build a Dinghy. If you can't take the ship, then build a dinghy and go your own way. And I don't know why they haven't thought of this yet. There's already been one SBC bigwig, Josh Buse, I think that's his name. He's kind of a bigwig. He's not important enough for me to even know how to pronounce his last name. Josh Buse or somebody like that. He's taken his church out of the Southern Baptist Convention. I saw where Alan Nelson shared an article from him a while back, and I asked Alan Nelson, are you guys going to leave the SBC? And he said that wasn't the plan right now. That's all he said about it. So I don't know. All I know is that I'll say this: if my church, if I were pastoring a church in the Southern Baptist Convention, I would have already packed up my bags and left by now. And that's because they are far too concerned about making converts and not making disciples. Right? As long as we get the numbers, as long as we get attendance numbers boosted and baptism numbers boosted, who cares if they're actually discipled? Now, I'm not going to say that that's a broad sweep for every SBC church ever, because I know that there are some good SBC churches out there who do actually try to disciple people, and the pastors are preaching expositorily through the Bible, and they're making sure their people are getting what they need on Sunday morning and during the midweek Bible study service and all that. So that's not a broad sweep against every single Southern Baptist church. But as far as the convention itself is concerned, they're more concerned about numbers than they are actual discipleship. That's just what it is. It's reflected in how they use their money. It's reflected in all the program, in all the unnecessary programs that they have. And so that's my rant about that. Now to Russell Moore. Now going back to Russell Moore, um, here's the deal. If you go back and read this article, that's if you go back and read the article, um, let's see if I can get my screen shared this time. Hey, there we go. I think something's happening. If you go back and read this article on Reformation Charlotte's website, um, at about the see 1, 2, 3 in the third paragraph down um, of the same article, where SBC enlists Asian man to rebuke pastors with Southern accent for sounding dumb. The third paragraph down. In the video released by the North American Missions Board New Church's website, around the 122 mark, the following overlay pops up on screen as Kenji Adachi is saying this. The overlay cites a 2012 study from the University of Chicago, where former SBC leader Russell Moore now works, stating that people believe Southerners with an accent are less intelligent than their Northern accented counterparts. Somebody help me out here. Somebody, for the love of God, help me out here. Please help me understand why it's important to bring up that Russell Moore now works at the University of Chicago. There's only one explanation I can think of for that. It's because it's still in vogue to take a big old steaming dump on Russell Moore. Because that's all these websites do, right? That's all these blogging websites do, especially if they're ran by people from the Conservative Baptist Network. Like, they just feel like it's still in style to take a big old steaming dump on Russell Moore. And what did he do? Well, he cost Mike Stone the election. No, he didn't. Mike Stone cost Mike Stone the election. Because nobody wanted Mike Stone as SBC president except for a minority of people. So, yeah, I don't understand what the deal is. Other than, I don't understand why it's important to bring up that Russell Moore now works at the University of Chicago. And, because they obviously, well, I do understand it. It's because they just want people to keep crapping on Russell Moore, because that's what gets them hits on their website. That's what gets them hits on their blogs. People log onto the internet and they want to see who's crapping on Russell Moore today. And people do this all the time, and it's not just with Russell Moore. It's with Beth Moore. It's with Ed Stetzer. I'll give you a good example of this. I was preaching at a pastor's conference a couple years ago, and it was primarily Baptist speakers there. And there was one speaker there who will remain nameless. And as he was preaching, he had a good message, by the way. Like, he had a solid message, by the way. But just in the middle of his message, he just goes, and I don't care what Ed Stetzer thinks about my church. And I thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious because, I didn't think it was hilarious for the same reason that he thought it was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious because he's using that for shock factor. He wants people to be shocked. And the problem is, all the people in that room were amening him. Like, there was not a single person there that his comment was going to offend, and he said it to offend someone. If he really wanted to be, if he really wanted his comment to have the effect that I know he wanted it to have, he would go to, I don't know, he would get an article somehow published on Christianity Today where he said something negative about Ed Stetzer. He would go somewhere where there's a bunch of Ed Stetzer guys and say that during the message. But no, what he wants is he wants people to pat him on the back. He wants people to affirm him. He might want people to be offended. What he does is he wants to come off like he wants people to be offended, but then he won't say that in the places where people will actually be offended. And I'm not going to fault him only for doing that, because we all do that to some degree. That's why social media exists. That's why a lot of you who are watching this, you're probably friends with a lot of people who are in an echo chamber. Like, you just want to be liked and adored so much. That's why you never engage with people that you disagree with. That's why you never engage with people that you don't like. You're insecure. And so, yeah, that's my rant about that. Man, so at the end of the day, is there an agenda for the North American Missions Board to try and get rid of Southern pastors' accents? Maybe, maybe not. I don't care one way or the other, because I think they're wasting money anyway. And I don't give to them. Our church certainly doesn't give to them. We're not even Southern Baptist. We're Cumberland Presbyterian. And if someone in our denomination, if someone in the Cumberland Presbyterian Church said, "Oh, well, you need to drop your Southern accent," I would kindly tell them to take a long walk off a short pier. Because here's the deal. At the end of the day, it does not matter what kind of accent a pastor has. What matters is the content of their preaching. And when a denomination, or when a missions board in this case, decides that the accent a person uses is more important than the content of their preaching, they have gone far off the rails. And I know that that's what a lot of guys like Tom Buck are saying. And, I commend them for saying that. But the reality is that it doesn't matter when Tom Buck complains about something like this, because Tom Buck is always complaining. So you never really know when Tom Buck has a legitimate gripe, or when he's just being a boomer. So yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to bring this up, because I feel like Tom Buck might have a legitimate gripe here. I feel like those in the Conservative Baptist Network, even though I just took a bunch of shots at them, might have a legitimate gripe here when they talk about the North American Missions Board. And I realized that I just offended both sides, but I realized I offended people on both sides of this issue. And if you know me, then you know that I don't care. So, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Monday Morning Megaphone. For those of you who listen to the podcast, this is going to be uploaded on Monday. Be sure to follow me on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook. Get this podcast wherever you can get podcasts. Man, speaking of boosting numbers, the Southern Baptist Convention just cares about numbers. But guess what? I care about numbers to some degree too. Not so I'm not going to lie about it. I care about numbers to some degree. So boost my numbers up on Anchor and Spotify. I want to give you guys helpful content, even if it's just me ranting, and I hope my rants are somewhat helpful. What I want is my rants to help you think about things that you may not have considered, because that's what I want whenever I listen to podcasts or read articles. I want people to bring things to my attention that might be in my blind spot, and that's what I want to do for you. So give me some feedback. Let me know if there's a topic you want me to cover. Let me know if there's a guest you might want me to have on the show. And I will see you guys later.